All rise. Court is now in session. The Honorable Belinda Hill presiding.
Sit. What? What did I say? Oh, what is today's case?
State of Texas versus Andrea Yates.
Defense, are you ready? Plaintiffs, are you ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
Everybody have a seat.
Defense and plaintiffs, are you ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
Call for opening statements.
Oh, wait, but it's ready. Oh, your opening statements. Plaintiffs.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the state of Texas is going to prove to you that Andrea Yates murdered her 5 children and knew what she was doing. The defense is going to try to make you believe she is mentally ill and incapable of knowing right from wrong. Mrs. Yates planned the drowning of her own children and purposely waited for her husband to leave for work so he wouldn't try to stop her. She also called 911 and asked for help because she knew what she did was wrong. If she was so mentally incapacitated, she wouldn't have known she was wrong and to call the police. She wouldn't have drowned her children and laid them on the bed and covered them with a sheet. She knew what she did was wrong because she called her husband at work and told him he needed to come home. She knew she was wrong, and she planned the murders and meticulously carried out her plan so no one would be around to stop her or prevent her from her plan. 5 young, innocent children murdered by their own mother. Mentally ill or not, Andrea Yates knew exactly what she was doing and that it was wrong. Her actions that day will prove that she knew what she did was wrong, and she planned it perfectly and made the call to her husband and 911 after the fact. We will prove to you, without a reasonable doubt, that Mrs. Yates murdered her 5 children in cold blood and deserves to be punished for her actions. Thank you.
Defense, you may open.
Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I intend to prove that beyond a reasonable doubt that my client is mentally insane. I would like to explain how could a mother kill her own children? A mother is supposed to love and nurture and protect her children. Why would she kill them, you ask? Andrea Yates, on the day of June 20th, 2001, actually thought by drowning her children, she was actually saving them. Andrea Yates suffered from postpartum depression with psychotic features. This caused Andrea Yates to suffer from hallucinations and loss of reality. The disease, as it will further on explain from her doctors, if left untreated, could cause harm to the mother, the child, or even both. So on the day in question, Andrea Yates was suffering from a hallucination, causing her to believe that her children were going to hell. She believed Satan was speaking to her, telling her her 5 children were watching the TV show they were watching, were telling her that she was a bad mother. In order to save them from hell, she thought that she had no other choice. It was apparent to Andrea Yates was mentally ill when she attempted suicide herself, not once, but twice in the summer of 1999. She was placed on Haldol for treatment, which she stopped taking soon after. I have a list of medications for you to review.
Defense Exhibit A.
Thank you.
We have heard your open remarks. We will now proceed.
Your Honor, I call my first witness to the stand, Russell Yates.
Mr. Yates, put your hand on the Bible. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Have a seat. Your name again, sir?
Rusty Yates,
And your relationship to this case?
husband.
Rusty, you said before that Andrea tried committing suicide. Did you help her?
Yes, she's been seeing a psychiatrist and was given meds to help her with her moods.
Did the medication seem to be working?
Yes, it is.
Was Andrea a good mother?
She was a wonderful mother.
Did she ever threaten to harm the children or make any statements that would lead you to believe she would harm them?
No, I never dreamed she would have thought of harming our children.
Did the two of you have a strong marriage?
We had a wonderful life together with our children.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Do you want to cross-examine the plaintiff?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Yates, when you got the phone call from your wife that morning, what was your first thought that went through your mind?
I was scared, thinking there had been an accident or something and one of the kids got hurt.
Did you for even 1 second think that she had possibly murdered all 5 of your children?
No, absolutely not. That thought never crossed my mind.
So you obviously didn't think she was depressed or ill.
No, I know it's a big responsibility to raise a large family, but Andrea loved being with the children and never said anything to me to let me know something was wrong.
Now, Mr. Yates, weren't you advised by a psychiatrist to not have any more children?
We were after our 4th child, but when we discussed having another baby, Andrea was thrilled at the idea and we were hoping for a little girl.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Witness, you may step down.
I'll always love you. Defense, call your next witness to the stand.
I call my next witness, John Holmes, to the stand.
Deborah?
No, John first.
No, Deborah.
I'm doing John first. We're doing John first.
We have a new script.
Don't go off of those scripts, because the script got revised, things got switched, because lay witnesses need to go first. She was way down at the end. So I put the couple together. Just go off of your answers. I didn't have enough paper to print all the scripts. Yep, your questions are added in. Place your hand on the Bible. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? State your name.
Mr. Holmes. What do you think of Andrea the last time that you saw her?
Mr. Homer reported that she looked crazy.
Did you ever think that she was a threat to her children?
I would not have left a kid alone with her. If she came to babysit my kid, I would have spot around her and point her to other ways.
Did you feel it was safe to leave her and her children alone?
Mr. Homer thought that it was safety issues for Angel Baby to walk around her with her. Mr. Homer stated we did not know Andrea was alone with the children. I told Deborah a month before that if Andrea left alone with children, I'm calling Child Protection Service, and I don't care what it does to our relationship.
Thank you, sir. No further questions.
Any cross-examination, plaintiff attorney?
No, Your Honor.
Your Honor, I call my next witness to the stand, Deborah Holmes.
Ms. Holmes, place your hand on the Bible. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your name
Deborah Holmes,
and your relationship to this case.
her friend.
Have a seat.
Okay, Deborah, since knowing Andrea for some time and working with her, how would you describe her as a person?
She was always a very loving, good-natured, giving, and considerate person. But she was a little insecure and immature about relationships. She didn't stand the basics of dating. She misunderstood all of that.
Do you think Andrea's childhood affected her parenting?
Andrea had told me that since she came from a dysfunctional family and was determined that her family not be dysfunctional, even if that meant sacrificing herself.
How would you describe Andrea after seeing her a couple of days after this happened?
I couldn't believe how much weight she had lost. She looked like a cancer patient. Her shoulders were hunched. She walked with slow steps holding her arms, and her face was expressionless. I was really worried about her.
Did you tell her husband how you felt?
I asked Rusty if she had an appointment to see a psychiatrist.
And what did he tell you?
He told me she had an appointment for the following Tuesday. I then told him that she wasn't going to make it through the weekend.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Do you want to cross-examine the plaintiff?
Yes, Your Honor. Mrs. Holmes, earlier you had said that Andrea had gradually changed since being married to her husband. What was she like when she was single?
Andrea had worked hard for her apartment, her car, and her bedroom furniture. But when she started dating him, she would say to me, if you had a big home, you'd have to buy things to fill the home. And when they got married, they sold all her things at a garage sale. Her wedding presents, her furniture, a lot of her personal things. And as for his things, they went into storage.
Did you notice any change in Andrea after she married Rusty?
I noticed a gradual change. I don't know if you'd say a change in identity. We always felt she was, I hate to use the word, controlled by her husband.
What do you mean by controlled?
Rusty always likes to know more than you, so he can be in control. And Andrea gradually said, whatever you want to Rusty. And she really didn't think too much of herself. She was always under pressure to be a supermom.
Do you think Andrea was pressured by a lot of things?
Rusty pressured her to stay home, take care of the kids in the house to meet Rusty's needs. She told herself that it was Rusty she told me herself that it was Rusty who wanted to have a lot of children. He was very critical and said nothing appreciative of the good things that she did, like it was to be expected of her. He believes in total submission. He even told his mother-in-law that women are inferior.
Would you say that he criticized her a lot?
I object, Your Honor.
I just want you to bang them all at once. Thank you.
Andrea was kind of matronly, a little boyish, never wore makeup, and was never taught girly stuff, but she was proud of a glamour shot she had taken in the mall and showed it to Rusty. He criticized everything, asked her if she was wearing a wig, criticized her about her makeup. It tore her apart.
Would you say that Rusty isolated the family?
Yes.
Can you explain?
Well, he didn't want the children to have contact with other children. He said that he didn't want his children to pick up bad habits from the other children. I felt that he discarded Andrea's real relationship with me. I would call, and if he answered, he'd always make excuses as to why she can't come to the phone and never pass on any of my messages.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Do you want to cross-examine the plaintiff?
No, Your Honor.
Defense, call your next witness to the stand.
I call my next witness, Mrs. Kennedy, to the stand.
Remember what side your lines are on. Ms. Kennedy, place your hand on the Bible. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? State your name for the court and your relationship to the case.
Her mother.
Have a seat.
Kennedy, I know this is hard for you to testify. Mrs. Kennedy, did you know that your daughter was depressed or ill?
Yeah, she was diagnosed with postpartum depression.
What kind of person was Andrea as a child?
She was always trying to be such a good girl. She was the most passionate of my children. She was always thinking of other people, never herself. She was always trying to take care of everybody. Andrea had always been the perfect child, eager to please. She was valedictorian of the high school and filed her home with swimming trophies.
In your opinion, when did you notice her mental state declining?
Right around the time when her father passed away.
Can you give me some examples of her mental state declining?
She started telling me that the cereal was talking to her, as well as the devil. She also was very distant and that she stayed home a lot and she was very lazy.
Did she seem better after taking medication that was prescribed to her?
Yeah, she seemed much more relaxed.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Does the plaintiff have any questions?
Yes, Your Honor. Even though your daughter was supposedly depressed, did you ever see her to be mean to any of the children or feel that there was danger of abuse to your grandchildren?
No, never, absolutely not.
Do you think your daughter was a good mother?
Yes, of course I did.
If your daughter was having troubles, did you have the type of relationship that she can come and talk to you about it?
Yes, we did. And she did tell me she was overwhelmed at times raising 5 young children at once and homeschooling them.
Now, I don't understand why she agreed to have another baby if she was having trouble with 4 young children already. Did she ever express concerns about having a 5th child to you?
She had the same concerns as any other mother would.
So it was a surprise to you that your daughter murdered all 5 of her children?
Of course it was a surprise. She was a wonderful mother and person and loved her children.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Any cross-examination, defense attorney?
Nothing further, Your Honor. I call my next witness to the stand, Dory Yates.
Ms. Yates, place your hand on the Bible. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
State your name for the court
My name is Dory Yates.
and your relationship to this case.
I'm the mother-in-law.
Have a seat.
Did Andrea seem better after being discharged from the hospital?
She seemed somewhat better, but still exhibited strange behavior, like walking in circles for long periods of time, often carrying the youngest and only daughter, Mary.
And when was the last time you paid a visit to your son's family?
April 3rd, 2001.
Did you ever help Andrea ever with the kids?
Yeah, I originally visited just a visit and then stayed because she seemed overwhelmed with the children
And how long did you stay?
for 2 weeks.
Did she show any signs of abuse or did she ever threaten the children?
There was one time that I can recall her running the water in the tub and one of the children coming and telling me, and when I asked her what she was doing, she said she might need it. I didn't feel like that was a reasonable answer, so I requested that she turn the water off.
Was there any events that made you feel like a situation like this could have occurred?
Not to the drowning of my grandchildren, but the strange behavior, I felt that she would get too overwhelmed and end up in the hospital again.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Plaintiff, do you have any questions?
Yes, Your Honor. Mrs. Yates, did your daughter-in-law ever act depressed or ill to you?
Previously, she had some trouble, but she was seeing a psychologist and was given medication that seemed to work for her. But lately, she seemed fine to me.
Did you think Andrea was a good mother?
Yes, she was a wonderful mother, very patient, kind in her kindness, even reached out to others she knew.
So, Mrs. Yates, the fact that your daughter-in-law murdered all 5 of her children came as a surprise to you.
Yes, it was a terrible shock to me. It was a surprise to me. I obviously didn't realize that she was depressed or sick, and I would have been there for her more. I requested that she hire a nanny or something to help her.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Witness, you may step down.
Defense court, next witness to the stand.
Your Honor, I call Dr. Starbranch to the stand.
Place your hand on the Bible. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your name for the court
Dr. Elaine Starbranch,
and your relationship to this case.
the psychiatrist.
Have a seat.
Dr. Starbranch, when was Mrs. Yates' first evaluation?
Mrs. Yates' first evaluation was on July 1st, 1999. Mr. Yates told me that his wife had a severe case of postpartum depression. She denied any history of abuse and said she did not want to answer any questions about her sex life.
Now, what were your observations?
I observed flat affect and severe psychomotor retardation, suspicious and poor concentration, and questioned whether they were perceptual disorders.
Did you ever speak to Mr. Yates in regards to his wife's mental state?
Yes, I spoke to Rusty Yates to obtain information about Andrea's mental history. I talked to Rusty Yates about attempting to obtain information relative to Andrea's family history in order to be able to document what type of mental process this woman was going through.
Diagnosis?
I made a provisional diagnosis of postpartum depression with psychosis and added to the Zoloft 150 milligrams per day to a new prescription of Zyprexa 5 milligrams at bedtimes. Product information on the Zoloft and Zyprexa were given to Mrs. Yates.
What occurred on July 21st, 1999?
The Yates arrived for an appointment on this date. Andrea told me she had missed a couple of doses of Zoloft and was deeply depressed. Mr. Yates reported that he had found her with a knife, which he had taken from her when she would not give it to him. Mr. Yates told me that he didn't think she had much hope. I concluded that she was suicidal and should be hospitalized and should take Zyprexa 10 milligrams at bedtime.
What was Mrs. Yates' condition during November 11th, 1999 and December 14th, 1999?
I believe that she was continuing to take her medications and that she had also told me that she begun homeschooling for oldest child Noah.
When was Andrea's last visit to your office?
Andrea's last visit was on January 12, 2000. She admitted to me she had stopped taking all medications in November 1999, but denied most symptoms. She said she was doing well and said her only problem was restlessness.
At any point, did you give orders for Mrs. Yates to discontinue her medication?
No, but the Yates did express a desire to stop medication so she could become pregnant again. I warned and counseled the couple against having more children. 2 days after this occurred, I noted it in the medical records. Apparently, patient and husband planned to have so many babies as nature allowed. This was surely guaranteed future psychotic depression.
What was your first impression of Andrea during her stay at Spring Glen Hospital?
I honestly thought she was catatonic and she was not eating. She was severely depressed and was obviously suffering from psychosis. She was suffering from delusion and beliefs that were not based on reality.
In your 31 years of practice, have you ever treated someone so ill?
Andrea Yates was without the question one of the most severely ill patients I've ever treated with postpartum depression with psychotic features.
No further questions. Thank you.
Defense for your next witness to stand.
Witness may step down.
I call my next witness, Dr. Jeet.
Get loud. Get loud. Those last couple lines, get loud. You, get loud. Get loud. When they're outside yelling, slow down. Place your hand on the Bible. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. State your name for the court.
Dr. Dietz.
Have a seat.
So Dr. Dietz or Dr. Dietz? Okay. Dr. Dietz, you stated that you believe Andrea is seriously ill, possibly even fatal, but do you believe Andrea Yates knew what she was doing was wrong, and if so, why?
Yes, I believe she had known what she was doing wrong. She didn't act like a mother who believed she was saving her children from Satan, and she had kept a plan from others.
Were you aware of the fact that Andrea was having delusions about harming other people?
Yes, I was.
If she knew it was a sin, she must have known it was first-degree murder by the state of Texas, right?
Yeah. She knew she deserved the death penalty and was punishment for doing something wrong. She also believed God would judge her act as bad.
And what do you interpret of her covering the bodies with a sheet?
I believe it's evidence of guilt due to the fact that she had not come for her children's death, indicating that she had not killed them as an act of love and protection.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Mason, do you have any questions?
Yes, Your Honor.
You can do it. You guys, you can do it.
Dr. Deep, you said you worked on an episode of Law & Order, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
In that episode, what was your role?
Well, like I said, I worked on an episode of Law & Order that featured the story of a woman found innocent by reason of insanity for drowning her children. I was trying to give out how she was innocent due to her death penalty.
So you believe that she took that idea from the show?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor.
Over.
Next question. She's gonna start yelling, then you start saying she's badgering the witness.
Now, isn't it true that such an episode of Law and Order never existed?
That's absurd. That
Objection, Your
cannot be possible. I strongly agree that due to the episode I made about this woman, I think that Andrea saw the episode and got the idea of doing that to her children.
Badgering the witness.
Objection, Your Honor. She's badgering my witness. I mean, my client.
Order in the court.
Dr. Dietz, you have apparently made a false statement. Your Honor, I move to have this witness's testimony stricken from the record. Thank you. No further questions.
Nice.
I conclude that there is a reasonable likelihood that Dr. D's false testimony could have affected the ruling. Jury, please disregard Dr. D's statement. Proceed.
Witness, you may step down. Attorneys, you better keep yourselves in line. You guys want to stay here tonight or you want to go home?
Recess.
Go to recess.
You can't pause.
There's no pause.
Hmm?
There's no pause.
There's no pause?
Nope.
None?
Just keep going.
I got this.
Keep going.
I got a good reason.
You guys want to keep going?
Yeah, keep going.
I was gonna play the Law and Order theme song.
No, just
If we
keep
keep going,
going.
can we leave 10 minutes early?
No.
No, that sucks. I'm on my break.
Just make sure you guys come back, all right? Like right at 10 past. Where's my lawnmower talk, please? All rise. Court is now back in session. Everybody can have a seat.
Defense, call your next witness to stand, please.
I call my next witness to the stand, John Bayless.
Place your hand on the Bible. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your name for the court.
John Bayless.
Have a seat.
Mr. Bayless, you work in the mental health unit of Harris County Jail, is that correct?
Yes, I do.
How many years have you been working with the mental unit?
I've been working in the mental unit of Harris County Jail for almost 11 years.
Do you have any degrees in any area of the medical field? If so, what?
Yes, indeed I do. I'm a registered nurse who graduated from RIC in 1986.
You were the RN that examined Andrea Yates, right?
Right.
What exactly did you witness when you examined Miss Yates?
Well, I called out her name, but she would not respond and was busy in her own world. So I kept calling out her name to catch her attention, when finally she turned back to the wall slowly to look at me, then continued mumbling and picking at her hair.
And did you find this unusual from any previous patients you had seen in the past?
Yes, it was very unusual. It was something I had not observed in any other patient I had dealt with before.
What was one thing that Andrea requested to be done to her the day of the death?
Andrea Yates requested for her hair to be cut in the shape of a crown the day after the death.
Can you describe exactly what Andrea Yates reported seeing?
She said she had seen visual satanic signs and described them as teddy bears and horses. Sometimes the horses had soldiers on them. She said she expected the state of Texas to kill her because she had Satan inside her. On one occasion, she stated seeing a child and a man on a horse, like a knight, when lying down and looking at the bottom of the top bunk, but neither figure would say anything to her.
Would you say Andrea was mentally ill?
Yes.
Can you explain why?
Andrea appeared to be internally occupied, and she stated to have heard voices in the weeks after she was in jail. She was a person who wasn't connected to reality at all.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Defense, please call your next witness to the stand.
Ask if they want to cross-examine. Sorry. Just ask if they want to
Ladies, do you
cross-examine.
want to cross-examine?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Witness, you may step down. Sorry, that was my
I
fault.
call my next witness to the stand, Dr. Ferguson.
Dr. Ferguson, place your hand on the Bible. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your name.
Dr. Melissa Ferguson.
Have a seat.
Dr. Ferguson, how would you describe Mrs. Yates as a patient?
In all the patients I treated for major depression with psychotic features, she is one of the sickest I've seen. She was convinced that her children were going to be tormented for the rest of their lives, and they're going to perish in the fires of hell.
How would you describe her actions and behavior during therapy sessions?
Mrs. Yates' behavior was very psychotic, and she was very paranoid. She believed that the cartoon characters were telling her that she was evil for giving her children too much candy and cereal. During one of her therapy sessions, she would pick at her lip until it started bleeding. And when we had our surveillance in her cell, she would hold conversations with the characters that she saw on the walls.
Overall, what can you conclude about Andrea Yates and her symptoms?
I believe Andrea Yates was not faking her symptoms. Yates believed in her honest mind she was fulfilling prophecy that she would destroy herself and Satan when she drowned her 5 kids. Yates believed that her children was not righteous and had stumbled because she was evil, and they could not be saved because of how she was raising them.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Any cross-examination, plaintiff's attorney?
No, Your Honor.
Witness, you may step down.
Please call your next witness to the stand.
Your Honor, I call Sergeant Mail to the stand.
Sergeant Mayo, place your hand on the Bible. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your name for the court.
Sergeant Mayo.
Have a seat, please. Sorry.
On the day of June 20th, 2001, you were the police officer that arrived at the Yates home after the 911 call was made, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Did you ask Mrs. Yates why she called 911?
Yes, I did.
And what was her response?
She said I just killed my kids.
And what happened next?
She brought me to the master bedroom where I saw what appeared to be 4 bodies covered with a sheet, with one arm protruding from under the sheet. I then pulled the sheets down and observed the bodies of 4 dead children, and Noah, which was the last one, was still in the tub.
Now, as you followed her into the house, did you see anything strange before you saw the bodies? And if so, what did you see?
I saw 2 sets of footprints on the living room floor indicating one of the children has escaped the tub before she caught him. Escaped the tub before she caught him again.
Did Mrs. Yates seem coherent when you asked her to sign the consent to search form?
Yes, she read the form and signed it and told us where to find clean glasses and drinking water and keys to unlock the doors.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Any cross-examination, defense attorney?
Yes, Your Honor. Oops.
Proceed.
The paper with the question.
She's got it.
Oh, she got my answers. What happened to her?
We on the baby, not prepared.
Okay, well, scratch that. I do remember. Wait, you got it. Okay, you got it. It's your answers.
Make her seem guilty. Sergeant Mel, while questioning Andrea, did she mention anything about her husband knowing that she had been exploring these thoughts about drowning her kids?
No, she hadn't.
During the interview, when you asked her questions that would require a narrative type of response, what did she seem to tell you?
She just sat quietly and blankly stared at me, pretty much.
When you asked her why did she kill her children, what did she tell you?
Save them from Satan.
To save them from Satan.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Witness, you may step down.
Please call your next witness to the stand.
I call my last witness to the stand, the medical examiner, Dr. Santos.
Great. Place your hand on the Bible. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your name for the court.
Louis Sanchez.
Thank you. Have a seat.
Mrs. Sanchez, did you perform the autopsy of the 5 Yates children?
Yes, I did.
The cause of death for all 5 kids was drowning, correct?
Yes, it was.
And what did the autopsy show?
The 5 children had fresh hemorrhages in the skull. Luke, John, and Noah all had recent contusions. Luke had them on the left arm and the lower extremities. John had them on his forehead, elbows, and lower extremities. Noah's were located on the upper and lower extremities. The stomachs of the children showed Mary's was filled with milk. 2 of the boys' stomachs were filled with corn puffs.
How long do you suspect these children were underwater water before dying?
Well, this death was not a quick one, it was slow. We are among the most significant cases of animal I've ever seen. The likely cause being forcefully held under the water. They weren't held under for seconds, but minutes. One of the children, John, his hands wrinkled. This suggests that the 5-year-old was under the water anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes.
Were there any bruises or indications of any of the children that showed child neglect of any kind?
Aside from the bruises from drowning, no, there was not any evidence of abuse.
And what types of bruising did you find?
The children had marks on their throats, shoulders, and stomachs from where she apparently held them down under the water to drown them. Mary, however, weighing just 20 pounds, had less bruising than the boys. Her head and the back of her neck showed bruises consistent with being held down quite forcefully.
Were there any other findings to show if the children struggled?
5-year-old son John had a long strand of his mother's dark hair in a clutched hand. Noah had the most struggling evidence. His injuries included deep internal bruising, abrasions such as a first scrape on his nose, nail scratches, round focal bruises around his joints. This indicates squeezing fingertip pressure. His injuries suggest that the young boy struggled hard, banging himself against the sides of the tub. Also, Paul had a cut on his lip, which is most likely from hitting his lip on the tub. 6-month-old Mary could not put up much of a struggle.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Any cross-examination?
No, Your Honor.
Andrew Yates to the stand.
Ms. Yates, place your hand on the Bible. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your name for the court, please.
Andrew Yates.
Have a seat.
Mrs. Yates, at any point did you think you might hurt your children?
At one point, there was a thought that came to my head about a knife and Noah, and it wasn't really a thought, more of a fear. And then 2 months later, I had thoughts about harming them.
And what time did you get up the morning of the drowning?
Around 8:10,
Who was awake at that time?
me, Rusty, and 2 of the children.
What time did your husband leave for work?
Around 9.
And were all the children awake at this time?
Yes.
So you waited for your husband to leave before filling up the tub?
I did.
Explain to the court what happened next.
I knew what I was going to do it that day. After my husband left, I went to the bathroom and filled up the tub. I first got Paul. After a brief struggle, I drowned him and then placed him on the bed. I repeated this procedure with Luke, then John. I then got Mary, and I held her under as well. Then I left her in there. I called her Noah. Him being the oldest and the strongest, he came in, and he saw Mary in the tub. And then he was like, "What happened to Mary?" And I didn't answer. He knew something was wrong, and he ran away. And I had to catch him. After a long struggle, I finally got him in the tub. He kept coming up for breaths of air, but I finally pushed him down, and I left him there. Then I went to go call 911.
So Mrs. Yates, you knew what you did was wrong.
I thought it was necessary at the time. I needed to save them.
How can drowning your kids save them?
Satan was tormenting them, and I couldn't be a good mother to them. So it was the right thing to do to be sent to heaven and be saved.
Did you tell anyone you thought you were a bad mother?
No, it was my responsibility, no one else's.
Is what you did, drowning your children, wrong?
To me, it was the right thing to do to save them. I had to save them.
Do you feel that you should be punished?
I do, and I'm prepared to go to hell.
Thank you. No further questions.
Defense?
If you suffered from postpartum depression, then why would you have more children?
Rusty believed that we should have as many babies as nature allowed, and I believed it too. But I just came exhausted and overwhelmed with it all.
So the reasoning behind your suicide attempts was because of the exhaustion and being overwhelmed?
Yeah, well, my first suicide attempt, I thought I was going to harm the children, so I'd rather harm myself before I harmed them. It didn't work. And then the second time around, I still had that feeling again, and I had a knife to my neck, but Rusty came and saved me before I could do any harm.
Do you remember what made you fearful or what you were afraid of would happen to the children?
I thought they weren't going to be righteous. I thought they were going to grow up to be criminals. They were becoming disobedient and weren't behaving right towards me. And then Satan, he kept tormenting them through TV and stuff, and I thought the only way to save them was to kill them so they could be righteous in heaven.
Now let's go back to the breakdown in 1999. Right before your suicide attempt, what were your feelings then?
I was tired and exhausted. I just had Luke and I was breastfeeding him, and I started homeschooling, and we were living on the bus, and all this anxiety just built up and I couldn't take it anymore.
You had thoughts about Satan controlling children, yet you refused to tell your doctors. What was the reasoning behind this?
Me and Rusty wanted more babies. We were planning on another child, and I didn't want the medication in my system, and neither did he. I thought I was confident enough that I could get better without the medication or the doctor's advice.
Thank you. No further questions.
Closing statements. Defense, are you ready, plaintiff?
Yes, Your Honor.
Plaintiff, your defense.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Andrea Yates and others like her need to be punished for their crimes. The defense insists that Yates is insane, psychotic, and that she did not know her actions were wrong when she drowned her 5 children. Although Mrs. Yates had been treated with medication and warned against having more children, she took it upon herself to stop her medication and had a 5th child. On that terrible day, Yates told the police she filled up the tub and then held each of her children, one by one, under the water until they stopped struggling. She then placed 4 of them on a bed in the back bedroom covered with a sheet. In the police interview, Yates described how she chased her oldest son, 7-year-old Noah, through the house before drowning him in the tub and leaving his body floating in the water amid feces and vomit. She then placed a call to 911 and to her husband, Russell Yates, to report that she needed help with the children. She also stated that she called 911 on June 19, 2001, because that's what you call when you do something wrong. She also expressed a deep sense of guilt for drowning her 5 children in the bathtub. That is not how a mentally incompetent person would act. In her confession to the police, Yates said her intent was to kill her children and asked when her trial would be, which leads me to surmise that she appreciated the wrongfulness of her actions. It doesn't take a medical education to see that Andrea Yates chose to respond to her existential crisis with her husband and her family by acting in a very evil manner on June 19, 2001. Her own words after she committed her crimes tell us this. Andrea's family and everyone else involved in this case should just accept the deep sense of guilt she feels for what she did and accept her willingness to be held responsible for her crimes. Yet they go on in a vain attempt at excusing Andrea for her crimes. You've heard the testimony, seen the gruesome photographs, videos, audio tapes. Was this the act of a loving mother? Were there words of comfort? Were there prayers? They didn't want to die. The legacy of this case should be that you will hold her accountable for the deaths of these children because she is criminally responsible. While the defendant is clearly mentally ill, she is nevertheless responsible for this crime.
There's no clap in the court. Where's my judge?
I know, because we would have.
Order in the courtroom.
We have a good defense attorney.
We'll clap for you too.
I mean, well, mine's not that harsh. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, after hearing from Andrea's family, friends and family, do you really assume a woman who loved her kids would intentionally murder all 5 of her children? A family who goes to church and makes sure their kids have a roof over their head? I have a presentation to show you. In this quick presentation, take a look at all their faces. There's not one picture that shows neglect or unhappiness. Bailiff, the lights, please.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, we do.
Why is the computer shutting off?
Because it's been acting weird all night. It's not you, it's just the computer.
That's what he said.
We won't take any points.
Please, it's not my fault. I had it prepared.
No, that computer's been acting weird all night. It shut me out of there a couple of times too, and I was trying to put some
I
hours
just had it
in.
prepared.
I know. That's all right, we won't take any points off of that because the computer backed it up.
No talking in the courtroom.
Jeez.
How did I? The computer is really slow.
Beats my 40-minute video.
Do I need to put your password?
No, I think you should just hit OK and it should be all right. No. Just hit OK.
Hit enter.
Let's do that.
Hit enter.
What a student.
We'll just show the class again, all the jurors. Hey, everybody.
There you go.
Damn, Zeddy. Damn, I like that song.
Do it by itself.
I'm gonna just do it like the music because it's gonna take longer.
I'm doing this on his own.
Because you're shaking it. Oh my god, you saying that on there? Watch that later. Like that. Can't
He's
edit.
very tired.
I tried editing stuff and putting it on YouTube.
There you go.
I'm putting it on YouTube as is. Y'all got an hour to watch this? I'm gonna put it on YouTube. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Everybody knows.
Hey, I told all y'all that I was gonna put on YouTube a few weeks ago.
That's cool.
See?
I don't think you can put a full hour on YouTube.
We're gonna get a phone call like.
I think it's 10 minutes per video.
Damn, that's trap.
You know, I watched Randy Crouch's last lecture, the whole thing, and I think that was easily an hour.
Oh.
Last time
I think so.
10 minutes.
Really? Maybe it's just because of how pivotal his lecture
If
was.
anything.
You can sell for 3 different ones, you know?
Yeah.
20, 60.
Lincoln Tech.
I think 3 people.
Is that what you're gonna name it?
Angie, I was gonna name it.
Andrea Yates.
No.
But you have to put Lincoln Tech in there so they know.
LTI.
LTI, there you go.
LTI mock trial.
No, I had a really good thing to put. Hold on, let me think. Oh, LTI reenactment of Andrea Yates' trial.
Cool.
That's the word I was looking for, reenactment.
It's a big word for you.
It is a big word for me, actually. Thank God only Lincoln Tech students are going to watch this, because if it's other people, they're going to be like, these people are crazy. Trap.
Yeah, it's very quiet today.
No, I don't think so. He wants to do a mohawk on me. Oh, fuck.
Yeah, we can just.
I feel like y'all guys just watch the slideshow.
Exit on that part.
Yana, no one today came to the stand and said Andrea Yates was a bad mother. So why would a good mother murder her own children? Only a sick, mentally ill parent who did not know what she was doing at the time. Andrea did not believe she was causing harm to her children. As I said before, Andrea was trying to save them from hell.
She got it. That's okay. Let her talk while it's going.
She did not know what she was doing at the moment. So today I plead sanity for my client. Thank you. I'm not going to do it.
Get the lights.
Oh, do we decide as a jury?
I'm not messing around with
Are we doing the verdict or are we just gonna
We're
follow
doing the
it?
verdict.
Yeah.
We'll do the verdict real quick.
Okay, madam.
Jury, have you reached a verdict?
No, not yet.
Yep. She's the one. Me? Yeah, you remember.
Oh, yes. We the people of the state of Texas find the defendant, Andrea Yates,
Guilty.
not guilty
By reason of insanity.
by reason of insanity.
What is going on?